Hey guys, it's TFNet. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another model kit review. This time it's going to be of the brand new Bandai Mobile Suit Gundam Real Grade 1/44 scale RX-78-2 Gundam version 2.0. Very excited to finally have this model kit here. This got announced sometime earlier this year. I don't exactly remember when, but I pre-ordered it right away and it just came out recently. Not too recently because I've been really busy with Anime Week on the channel and I've had to juggle building this while doing a bunch of anime related reviews. I also reviewed the 1.0 version recently in preparation of this, which building that was a little bit of a nightmare, but not too bad, honestly. It doesn't really age that well if you ask me, but this here, it just looks so good. That first version was more based off of the Odaiba real life statue from years ago, and this is really its own thing, and it looks really awesome. So this is a large box. It's going to be a little bit difficult for me to capture everything on here, but I do want to take a look at what is going on. We have the Bandai Namco logo there, as well as a 3D render of the model kit. You also have the 45th anniversary Gundam logo there, the blue Bandai logo, ages 15 and up. Like with a lot of real great boxes, what you get is a full body image of the Gundam and then this side profile here, looking really sick. And then looking up there, you also get, if I could focus up there, another Gundam logo up there, very old school. Then down here, the real grade logo, RX-78-2 Gundam version 2.0. Now this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. Looking on this side here, which this is going to be the same as the other side. Right here, it does say number 40, real grade, excitement embodied there. Gundam version 2.0, as you can see all that. Pretty much stuff from the front. One thing that is unique on this side, though, same as the other side actually, we do have, if I zoom in more, Gundam.info there, so you can scan that QR code if you need to. So what's on this side, this longer side here? Well, lots of images of different posing, different accessories, some close-up images, and you also get an idea of how that frame is going to look. They also show the core fighter there, and then some other stuff going on. An in-depth analysis, actually, is what that says. Now, on this side, just some more posing going on this side. Tells you there's no glue, and it does require snippers, but yeah, no glue required, if I could speak. Some of the gimmicks going on there. And then this side here just shows some other stuff like the, again, that 45th anniversary logo again. If you do need the barcode here, which I don't have the bluefin sticker on here for translating, I do have the barcode though. There you go. So yeah, let's just go ahead and go to the before the build section. Now I do apologize for opening this at such a weird angle, but this is the first view that you get as soon as you open the box. You have all of these nice runners bagged in here nicely. There's 9 main runners in total. You have some multicolored ones here, as well as the sticker sheet is included in this bag as well. And then we have mostly some gray ones in here, mostly for the weapons as well as parts of the inner frame. There's actually a 10th runner for the beam effect parts, but it's pretty small. So again, there's 9 main runners in total. A lot of white sections in here, and then another multicolored runner with mostly some red and white and some clear blue in there. There is also this off-white E runner in there, and then some gray inner frame parts in there. And I'll show off a little bit of the detailing on one of these runners in a second, because there's some great detailing here. We also have this pamphlet here for a premium Bandai exclusive weapon set for this kit, which is up for pre-order now if you want to try to get that. And then this is the pamphlet. I'm not going to show off every image in here. Also, things look a little too bright on accident, but this is the centerfold there. Everything is really nicely laid out. There are a lot of steps, but it's not too overwhelming to read this, honestly. It's a pretty straightforward build. And this is what the sticker sheet looks like. These are sticker style decals. We don't have water slides for this yet. I'm wondering if the water slides, I haven't looked at them in a while, but the water slides from the original RX-78-2 real grade, if those will be at all compatible or work or fit with this. But I assume they're eventually going to release a new water slide decal for this. But everything on here looks really nice. I don't think any of these stickers look bad at all. Really nice small details on here. And the bottom right section is mostly for, you know, different parts going on the armor pieces, especially for the eyes and the cameras as well. And here's an extremely quick look at one of these runners just to get you an idea of what the detailing looks like. I don't want to go too in depth with this because I have a separate section to talk about the inner frame, and this video is going to be long enough as it is, but as you can just see already on the runner, it all looks really fantastic with the detailing. And here is what the model kit looks like completely built out of the box. This thing is absolutely amazing. I have had so much fun building this. I finished it a couple days ago, and man, this thing just rocks. And some of you are probably going to be annoyed with hearing this, but me personally, I do think that this is better than the 1.0 by a lot. It's not without a few flaws, though. Let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories. And then before we look at a closer look of how this looks, I will take a closer look at the inner frame. Here's a quick look at all of the accessories that you get with this model kit. If this is good enough for you, I would recommend skipping to the next section of the video. We're going to be here for a bit. Even though you technically get more stuff here compared to the 1.0 version, they do exclude a base adapter, which is fine. There's still a way to plug in a base into this model kit. But they also don't have a 1/44 scale pilot minifigure, which I kind of wish they included. I don't know if this line has just excluded that altogether, but I do wish that this came with one. So we don't have the articulated hands here. They're all pre-posed. The fists are on the model kit right now. We'll take a look at those in a second. Me personally, much easier to deal with pre-posed hands compared to the articulated ones. They were cool in practice. Didn't really work super well if you ask me. You get the most detailing on these because you can actually see the palms. The detailing under the fingers is fantastic, and on the palms, really nice too. These squared off type of fingers are great. The detailing on the back of the fingers is great. And then we also have these back hand panels, which every back hand panel is pretty much detailed the exact same way. Then you do have these beam saber holding hands. These things hold them really well. I'll show off an image in a second. The back of the hands, you get that detailing there, but the palms, the detailing is not that great there. Underneath the fingers, you really don't get any detailing there because they're going to be covered by an accessory. But this is what the back hand panels look like again, and then this is a quick image of it dual wielding that, which actually works out really well. These things are very tight, secure grip there. They're not going to fall out anytime soon. Then we have this beam rifle holding hand. This thing still looks really nice. A little bit more detailing, or at least can be seen on the palm there, but no detailing really under the fingers. Again, that's fine. It's going to be holding an accessory. Back hands, back fingers, I should say. That detailing is nice. I can't speak English properly, excuse me. And then the hand, the back panel on the hand, looking really nice. This does have a tendency, wash your hands, yeah, so it does have a tendency to smudge a little bit, but that could be cleaned off pretty easily. And then this is an image of what it looks like holding the beam rifle, which it's a little bit finicky to disassemble. It's 3 sections that you have to disassemble at this hand. Once you get everything reassembled around the beam rifle, it holds it very well. You're not going to lose it at all. Here's what the beam saber handle looks like. We get 2 of these, and I'll show off the beam effect in a second. This looks pretty nice, just simple line detailing going on in here. I think there's a tiny bit of a mold line in there that you can easily get out. It's not super apparent to me right now. We do have beam saber effect right here. This one's a little bit warped, but you get 2 of each of these that you see right here. Slips in just fine. Shaking it actually is pretty secure, but pulling it out sometimes feels a little loose. So as long as it doesn't fall out super easily, that's fine. I slightly like the 1.0 is just a little bit more. I like the length. I think it's really fun that it's very long. I kind of like this part that expands. This is a little basic, but that does not mean it's a bad thing. It's still rather nice. Then we have the beam rifle here, looking really nice. I like the different gray that we have. A lighter gray here, darker gray pretty much all throughout mostly. This handle piece does move around, then this side also moves around. Just be careful if you accidentally grip around the barrel here. There's a little bit of plastic stressing, if you see right there when I was actually fixing some stuff up, getting nubs out. Yeah, it's a little too shallow. But the detailing all throughout, like the inner working right there, is cool. And then that's pretty nice there with the little sight, or the scope, I guess, I don't know. The barrel looks nice. I don't know every single little inner working going on here on this rifle, but things look really good. And you can, it's actually surprisingly stable. You can use a beam effect to shoot, shaking it out, not too bad. Again, though, kind of a little too easy to pull out. I mean, I guess that's fine, actually, that, it's like that. But there is a potential that you leave it down, it could droop out, so just keep that in mind. Next up, we have the Hyper Bazooka, excuse me. Really nice plastic going on here. And these different molded sections are nice. I like these little vent sections. There is actually missiles sculpted in here. You can kind of see them, but it's mostly covered by the plastic.
I thought I saw a little bit of a swirl going on here for some reason. I don't know if I messed up anything, but let's get a little bit of scratching on here too, so just be careful. But it really only hits the light, and it's not apparent. This here, I don't know what this is, but that looks pretty nice. This is a little shoulder rest, hinging back and forth on the handle, pretty nice. Just want to let you guys know, it's really only the gripping hands. The beam, beam rifle holding hand will not work with this. It just isn't working out. But the beam saber hands, they work with this. Also, I do want to mention that there is weapon storage for this on the back. You see this little back section you just push down. That is where you will have a Tamashi. Well, not really Tamashi. I mean, you could be, but really a base port, I should say, right there. And then that little peg, you just slot the opening into Hyper Bazooka in there. And it actually is pretty stable. If you move it around, I'm sure something might snap off, so just be careful, though. Going back to this, though, I really like the detailing. The nice plastic on the white here, too, with this gray section. It's really nice detailing overall. You see some line work in here. And then just be careful if you accidentally twist this. That is how you disassemble that going on there. So, still rather nice. Then we have the shield. The shield is really nice on the outside here with a nice red, a little bit of gray right here. And I do like the yellow separate section here. The white is a really nice plastic. And you have a little bit of inner working going on here. It's not just white. Not completely white, I guess, compared to the first real gray. It's still a little too much white. I wish there was a little bit more gray in here, but it still looks really nice. This does actually have a sliding mechanism that goes up and down here. This actually, oh gosh, I'm trying to get that out. This is a clip system that actually goes around the arm. And then this also is for weapon storage right there. And you have C-clips for the beam saber effect here. But this handle is for the gripping hand. This actually, I accidentally snipped something ever so slightly here that I wasn't supposed to. But this still functions. So that's, yeah, just be careful. Watch out for the accessories, or the steps, I should say, the instructions when you are doing this part. Basically, what I do in order to get this on, if you see this footage here, just put in the gripping hand into the handle already. And then you put that into the forearm. And then you wrap the back of the little, just that clip section that goes around the forearm, actually. You wrap that around there. Everything is nice and secure. Everything looks really good once you have it posed up with the shield as well. There's also weapon storage for the shield with this little slot section that goes into the backpack, actually, of the RX-78-2. It's a little bit finicky to try to get it in there. It's a little bit thin, but once it's in there, it is a nice and secure connection. Last but not least, with the shield, we do have weapon storage, where you do have C-clips, and you just plug in the beam saber handles into there. They actually fit really nicely. You don't have to clip them in there. You can push them in there from the top. It's pretty nice. It doesn't feel like anything's going to get stressed out. Pulling them out is a little bit difficult at first, but it can be done. And then this little tab right here, actually, I use a toothpick to get that out because it's a little bit hard to open that up. But basically, you just flip that out, and it has a little peg system. Then you would peg in actually the beam rifle, that trigger section through there. So everything is nice and secure. Things are going to stick out, of course, but it was like that on the 1.0 version as well. Home stretch on the accessories, we have the core fighter here. This is one of the most hard accessory sections I've ever filmed, just letting you guys know. I've been doing this all day. There's just a lot going on here. I am already showing you how this cockpit looks opened up because this is one of the hardest cockpits I've ever had to open. It's really hard to open it. It's just really hard. Sorry, but I just have to put it that way. I think it's easier on this, the previous one. They're about the same size, I want to say. And I think there's just ever so slightly more detailing on the new one, but both are really nicely detailed. I just slightly like the brighter colors on the new one a little bit more. It doesn't look bad at all on the previous one, though. But they're done in a very similar fashion. We have a more clear white piece here compared to this clear blue. And then the back fin sections are a little bit more detailed on the new one. These back gray sections right there, I think are slightly better on the new one there. But that was also meant for, pegging in to the stomach there on the previous one. One thing that the old one has beat on this one is how the landing gear is done. These are very nice and secure. They're not going to fall out until you pull them out. These things here are not super easy to stay in, unfortunately. You see that these are a little bit more, angled. I don't think it's supposed to be like that because when you're supposed to be straight up like this, you see that? Yeah, they're already pretty disconnected. It does matter how you insert these. Like these little sections sticking out like that go this way. This smooth section goes this way. But yeah, these things don't want to stay in at all. This, though, is pretty easy to transform, just like the previous one. Simply insert this, push this down, push this up like that, and there you have a core block like that. Pretty nicely done. Getting this into the stomach is pretty easy too. You just insert it into both sections of the torso, either slipping it into the chest or slipping it into the stomach. Really doesn't matter. Just make sure the blue sections that go straight down the middle of the chest are open, and then you want to push in the one closest to the yellow around the neck first, and then the stomach blue section. You'll push that in afterwards. And then to lock in the back spine section, which is one of the more finicky parts of this kit, but it's still not too bad, you would just insert that, or just make sure that's plugged in and locked in too. I usually use a toothpick to unlock that too, because it's a little bit hard to get with my fingernail. So this is what the inner frame looks like, and this thing is just absolutely fantastic looking. It makes me upset that you're gonna have to cover this all up in a little bit. You arguably want two of these just to build an inner frame and then a fully assembled one. This thing just looks fantastic. Look at all this detailing on the surface. Like, first of all, I'm just going to separate this at the way. This does want to separate a little bit where the core fighter is sometimes. But, like, look at the detailing that's just going to get covered up later. That is such impressive detailing on all these smaller pieces. It is just such a really sick looking inner frame. Going from, I'm sure it was nice back then, but going from how the pre-built inner frame, or slightly pre-built, I should say, inner frame from the 1.0 version into this is a huge leap. Like, it is night and day just how cool these look. Not that it looked bad before, but it's just really impressive what they've implemented with this technology. One thing I do need to mention that is pretty important is that there are sections that seem really thin that actually some of it are gate sections. Like, that is a gate section right there, and this here almost split in half. So I don't even remember being that rough with some of these thinner pieces. I went in really quickly, just like pushed this together, started super gluing this here just ever so slightly, and there's a little bit left on there, so it's not the prettiest, but I don't really want to risk anything and sand it off and then break something. So just be careful. Some of these sections that are pretty thin, yeah, they are pretty prone to stressing and then eventually maybe even breaking over time. But a lot of this is still really solid. Don't let that deter you. It is a really nice quality plastic that this whole kit so far, just with the inner frame here, is built with. And I am just so impressed with how much detailing that there is. Of course, there's sections that, this is an inner frame section, but some of this is, like outer armor sections are slightly on here. They are required to build on here, like these little cuff pieces, and then some parts of the, this shoulder and the shoulder pads, and then the blue here, the red in the face, and then of course that core fighter, you have to build the whole thing because that is basically just the entire stomach articulation. I don't know how much of the articulation is going to get hindered once you build the whole thing, but like moving this thing around already, it can be a little funky to move things. Some things feel a little bit stiff, but just being careful with moving things, and you're going to get lots of nice movement out of stuff. And then properly moving things before other parts, like moving the shoulder pad before you actually move out the arm, is going to help you be more confident with moving this thing around. I've only built the fists as of recording this section so far, but like, my God, it's just giving you one more quick look, and like on the back here too, some of these gate marks I didn't buff out all the way, so that's on me. It does look a little ugly, and I apologize for that, but you have to build the whole, I think this is almost the whole backpack, if not the entire backpack, built already. You do have to build that right away. Not right away, but like if you're doing just a pre-built frame, you want to have the backpack, you have to build a whole backpack. This thing is just so fantastic. One last thing before I move on to the whole built thing. I just have the solid color stickers here. We do have that one here for the camera. You saw the gold dyes earlier. I think this one is starting to slip off a little bit, so I'll figure that out in a second. You do have, I didn't go into detail about all of these stickers here, but you kind of see what's going on here. These are definitely stickers with the borders, so they're not water slides, but we do have these like two-tone type of stickers here that are meant to have a little bit more detail, more realistic details. I personally just went with the solid colors. Not that I think those were going to be bad, but I just think it was going to be easier to line up and apply, and things actually were not too bad with lining up these smaller stickers. Much easier than the 1.0 version, if you ask me. But yeah, I am just in love with how much this inner frame looks sick. It took a while just for this section, and I'm filming this out of order, so I don't know what it's like building the rest of the outer armor yet, but we'll see how long that's going to take. And this is what we get pretty much as soon as you completely build the whole thing. And I do feel like the inner frame took longer than applying all of these outer armor sections, which isn't a bad thing. I just feel like that is just something that needs to be mentioned. Now, when it comes to overall sculpt and detailing, it really is fantastic. One thing that people were mentioning, though, about this head sculpt, if I can even get this properly, there is a gap going on here with this like front headpiece going into the head. I think that was something wrong with manufacturing. I really don't mind it too much. I didn't even notice it until someone pointed it out online. But the way that they did this V section actually is very secure. It's like the way you have to assemble it. And yeah, safety nubs are already off, so be careful with that. But yeah, that's pretty sick. Like, just the overall face looks great with the mouth plate. And then you have the like side vents, the Vulcan guns too. In the back here, great panel lining all throughout. A little bit of a gray separation right there. Yeah, once you panel line this, it might look a little busy, but I mean, it still would probably look fantastic. The big thing about this is that indistinguishably, it is the RX-78-2, but they have a bunch of unique details, like the chest panel lining there, that make it look really nice. The way that these chest vents protrude, even a little bit of detailing on the side, and the side on the red here. All of that looks fantastic, and you get a little bit of detailing even like around the front there too. One thing I think design-wise some people aren't digging is that there's a lot of these small little like vent tick sections basically. I can understand if that's not a design choice people are digging. I don't really mind that too much, honestly. Like detailing the shoulders. My flaws I was mentioning earlier are actually more like nitpicks. It's really like that being separated, which it really isn't that big of a deal. Some of these were a little bit difficult to apply, on the shoulder sections, but once you get them into the shoulder sections, it's fine. Like this elbow piece was a little bit hard to get into. It's very minor nitpicks when I was talking about flaws earlier. These, you do have to twist these in to secure, so that could be a little difficult, but that is still, I mean, once you get it done, it looks fantastic. Great panel lining all throughout the arm on both sides, on the outer sections, and then these gray sections. Looking really fantastic. Looking at the fists here, very much detailed like the rest of the hands, with the detailing on the outer section of the fingers and the backhand panels. Looking pretty good. This backpack is also very nicely detailed. I think they do an absolutely fantastic job of this. You can flip this all the way down if you have a beam saber handle in there. That way, the Hyper Bazooka won't get in the way too much, so that's nice. And this section right here, it's a little bit hard for me to move, but this is a base adapter that does hinge a little bit, and then these hinge. These little thruster sections look really great. This backpack is fantastic. One thing to mention is that you can pop this out, and it is a pretty standard connection point here for some high-grade backpacks. So if you look here, like with the Mirror Soul Flight backpack, this does actually fit on there, and I think that they did a really good job planning that out. And there's also really nice detailing on the back overall here that does get covered up by the backpack, but still really nice. And I do think what's going on with the spine is a little, breaks up the colors a little too much, but I mean, that's how it works mechanically, so, or at least when it comes to the engineering of this kit. I don't really mind that too much. Okay, moving on to like the skirt sections. These are really fantastic. Pretty sure these front ones are the exact same as the back ones in terms of sculpting. So yeah, these things look really great. Kind of mentioned this earlier, but like when you have this white now separating that gray for those skirts, really brings out those details even more, if you ask me. All the detailing on the side here, looking great. And then these side flaps also have that, and they look really great on the inside. And honestly, on the outside too. Looking really nice. I've already talked about this with the base adapter here. A little bit of detailing with that too going on. Then we get down to the legs. You have these separate panel sections with a lighter gray mixed in with that more pure white. A little bit of a breakup of that. I don't really mind that at all though with that gray. These side kneecap sections, I don't think you have to like turn these to lock them in. I don't remember actually, but this is, I mean, these look really fantastic. Again, like detailing on the front of the legs. You can see whatever's going on here with that hip section really nice. And then detailing on the knees is also really nicely done. I really love how this looks. These darker gray sections, like these vent sections, and then like this outer section there. All of that looks really fantastic. Even what's going on the back of the leg there. And a ton of panel line work going on the back with this too. Then you get the separate little ankle sections that there's not much going on there with them, but still have some nice detailing. And then the bottom of the feet looking really nice. Yeah, so these, whatever these little sections are here, the gray there, looking pretty nice. And great detailing all throughout the bottom of the feet. So this thing just has tons of detailing going on. Let's see how long we can go without the 1.0 basically falling apart on me completely. But as you can see, very different design approaches going on. Again, the new 2.0 may not be your cup of tea design choice wise, you know, which is fine, but I still love how this looks. And you can see it's just very different in terms of design and detail compared to this, which is based off the Diver City one, which that pays homage, you know, design wise to the original. This does look like it has a little bit more bulkier and accurate. Well, I mean, it depends on the, you know, original frames of the RX-78-2 from the cartoon, but most of the time it seemed pretty bulky, and some things seemed a little wide. Kind of captures it here. Some things seem a little bit more slender in some areas. Some things seem a little bit more bulky in other places on this. But you can see just how the different colors are done in terms of like the darker red. The white is pretty similar, but I think it's a little bit more of a matte finish on the new one. Different types of blue, so if you like more colors, then, you know, the 1.0 has that, where it has a lighter and darker blue. And then, you know, I guess it depends. I think I'm more used to how these vents look in the chest, where they protrude out more, where they're going in a little bit more. I actually don't know which one I like more, so I guess that's really just a personal preference thing. Biggest thing I want to mention is well, there's three things. The heads, I think both look great, but you can see that I think the eyes come through a little easier, and that is, you know, this with the eye problem, I've talked about that in my review. That was more my fault, but still a problem dealing with the eye stickers. Way less of a problem on the new one there. Surprisingly, neither V-fin section pops off very much at all. So, you know, back of the head a little bit more detailed on the new one. The backpack system has some more colors, but I think it's these vents pop out all the time. But I think there is better detailing, if you ask me, on the new one. It's just more detailing overall on the new one compared to this. But the hands are done kind of a similar fashion. I mean, there's not much to talk about. You have a little bit more of these panels actually on the, you know, previous one, where that this is a little bit more basic. On this one, again, that's not really a bad thing or any, you know. But we have very similar approaches to the legs, actually, because they have similar types of articulation and sliding mechanics. And then like these side kneecap sections, you get a little bit more of that exposed inner frame before you bend any articulation there. And then similar detailing of how these look here, even though it's a little bit more detailed here. Again, this is definitely more of a real life, but also classic cartoon type of look, where this is very much its own thing. Proportionally, the heads are smaller. Shoulders was another thing that I was talking about. The shoulders are way easier to deal with on the new one compared to the previous one, but they're actually like there's more angular on this, I think. They're about the same size. Maybe the old one might be a little bit larger there. Color separation, the crotch area is fine. Nothing to talk about there. And like these little like vent sections where these like bottom knee pieces are. I actually think I might prefer ever so slightly how the gray sections are done with the 1.0, but the rest of the feet on the bottom, which is starting to droop. The rest of the feet I like a bit more on the 2.0 version. So yeah, that's just a side-by-side of how that looks basically. I never thought the 1.0 looked bad at all, and I'm surprised. Well, I didn't move this around very much, but I'm surprised how much, you know, this design holds up, and how this held up when I was holding this. But me personally, I just really like how this looks and how this was done in the 2.0. Before I move on to the articulation, I want to mention that originally I thought maybe you could use some of the stickers on the previous RX-78-2 decals for the real grade could work. Stuff like what you see here that are supposed to fit around the shoulder sections, they're not going to work at all compared to what we got going on here. There's also EF, SF logos here which I don't see anything like that on these. I guess it makes sense since it's the Diversity version, but stuff for like the elbows here, and then, or these actually have the knee sections, I think, and then stuff for the elbows, chest vents, don't really get anything like that. Maybe a little bit going on right here, but they are very different. So I think eventually they are going to be releasing a separate waterslide decal of these exact same stickers. I'm not crazy about the border, so I'm not going to be using them today. Going over the articulation here, lots of stuff. You can lift the head up at 3 different sections, actually. At the body, this middle section, and then the top section with just a hinge. So it goes up really far. It can really go down far, too. Really, only a little bit of side to side, not crazy or anything. If you pull it out a little bit, maybe a little bit more, but rotation, pretty nice. You can lift these shoulders up like this, going out like that, and you actually have, you know, you can pull out what's going on whatever with the shoulders. These things can move on their own. That way you can go out like this, and that actually won't move with that too much, but then you can pull it, and then you can make it move all together. But basically, that's as far up as it wants to go, and far down like that. You can go a little bit forward and back too. Arms can go all the way around, but they still can try to get in the way a little bit, so just be careful of that. Forgot to mention, again, that hinges, these hinge right here, then these little sections right there where my finger is, they also hinge. And then, the arms can go out this far, yeah. And then upper arm swivel there. You get a double jointed elbow. Really nice, actually. This ball joint section right here, which can be a little finicky, but not too bad. Ball joints going on at all sets of hands. So the up and down is not great, but the rotation is just fine. Now, the torso articulation is still better than the 1.0, but it gets a little weird because this section really only wants to lift up like this to simulate a crunch. Whereas like a lot of this really at the actual stomach where these 2 red sections meet, really you don't want to move that much, and then things come undone, which is kind of a little weird. But this rocks like this, and then the side skirts move with it. Rotation like this, kind of, these get in the way a little bit, the front and back skirts, but rotating is really nice going on there. Just is so much stuff going on. These are on ball joints, so out and then swiveling here, pushing this and going in and out like that on all of these back sections too. And then we have this like crotch down system where things can lock in a bit if you like push back, I think, on this, or I think push forward on the crotch section, which is a little weird to say, but I mean this like pulls down a little bit and you can push this up a little bit. Like, yeah, there's some stuff going on here, man. Lots of engineering in this articulation. So this can push out like this, and it's a little hard to see, but the instruction manual does show different things that lock and then unlock for way more motion, as you can see like that. Legs go out this far. Even with all of this coming up, it really is not getting, I mean, it looks a little wonky because I keep pushing things, but this would have fallen into 900 pieces by now with the first real grade, if you ask me. Great T-joint going on here, forward and back, in and out. Upper thigh swivel, really nice. 3 sections of bend here. So that leg armor on the thigh moves. Then you can move this section. And then you move this section. Crazy amounts of bend going on there. Then this back piece moves out. And then you can push that as far out as you can. Forward, pretty nice too. Swivels here. A little bit of a side-to-side rocker. And then this actually can go up and down like this. And then there's a little bit of an independent section here. It's on a ball joint. You can push it down like this. You can make it do a little bit of a ankle rocker too. 3 different types of bend at the bottom of the feet. So there is absolutely stacked articulation in this thing.
Measuring out the figure, we're getting pretty close to 13 centimeters. So that will actually put this around 5¼ inches tall there. It is going to be shorter than the 1/44 scale Real Grade 1.0 and 1/44 scale Yokohama Gundam, but by a very slim margin. They're all pretty close together. And then far left and right, we have standard size Black Series and Marvel Legends figures that are going to be taller. Overall, I had an absolute blast, not only building this thing, but articulating this thing. It is such a nice model kit. Building it is really fun. It's a little complex. It's definitely an intermediate build. So if you're not that used to building model kits, maybe don't start out building this one here. Maybe don't even start this as your first ever real grade. It's not stupidly hard though. I think you can figure out. There's just a lot of small parts to keep account of. But it's once you get it built. Well, first of all, The inner frame is fantastic, but once you get it fully built, it even looks more fantastic. You arguably, once again, want to buy 2 just to keep 1 as an inner frame. Lots of great stuff going on with the detailing. I mean, you know, detail-wise and design-wise, that can be subjective if you don't like how it looks. But I really like how this looks, and I really love the detailing on like the surface of the armor, and again, the inner frame detailing is fantastic too. The articulation is fantastic. It's a little bit wonky with the gimmicks involved with that, but still really nicely done. It definitely didn't fall apart on me, which is a plus. The accessories are also really nicely done, really nicely detailed, but can also be a little bit finicky with their gimmicks. But this thing is just such a nice piece. I am so happy to have it. And I think if you guys have been excited to pick this up, I think you're going to be really happy with it as well. $38, which seems a little steep, but actually is not too bad. I do recommend this a little bit more than the 1.0. Not that the 1.0 is bad. I just had much more fun with the 2.0. Again, it's a personal thing compared to the 1.0. Still decent, though. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about the model kit, what you think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends. Follow me on Instagram for more content over there, and I will see you guys later.